Hi there, I'm Andrew Rogers, the Director and CEO of the Albuquerque Museum Foundation. I want to welcome you to the 31st Annual ArtsThrive exhibition and events, and our first ever Ungala, completely virtual. Before we get started, I do want to say a couple of quick words of thanks to a couple of our sponsors. Specifically, I want to thank our gold sponsors, American Home Furniture and Mattress, and RBC Wealth Management, the Chris Cates team. Thank you so much for all that you do. Additionally, I want to thank Century Bank, Fidelity Investments, and the Rohde Law Firm. Thank you as well for what you do. So what is this all about? Why are you even here? Why are you watching this? ArtsThrive is an annual fundraising event that our organization, the foundation, the Albuquerque Museum Foundation, puts on every year to benefit the Albuquerque Museum. In fact, the sole reason for our foundation's existence is to support the programs and the outreach and education work of the museum. And the Albuquerque Museum is a municipally owned and operated arts and history museum located in the Old Town area of Albuquerque. Please do stop by and visit next time you're in town. Our support enables them to acquire new works, expand their education program, provide take-home art activities, all kinds of wonderful things that you'll learn a little bit more about throughout the course of this. In the course of this program, though, you're also going to be hearing from some other people involved in the foundation and the work that we do, as well as the museum and some of their great work. Additionally, you'll be hearing from some of the artists themselves, getting a quick glimpse into some of their galleries and learning a bit more about the work that they do. Because after all, while we're here, it's entirely about the artists and the artwork. This year's show features hundreds of new artworks from around the country, predominantly the Southwest, but around the United States. And it's a lot of really fabulous new emerging work and artists who otherwise maybe haven't been given a platform before. And unlike most other museum shows, this one, while virtual, also has an in-person component, and everything in the show is for sale. So everything that you purchase, either online or if you visit us in person, 60% of the proceeds go to the artists, 40% comes to us, the foundation, to support the museum, and helps not only the institutional programs, but also all the artists in the region. So your support is tremendously helpful. You can also just give us some money and make a donation. We'll take that too. Be great. Additionally, in this program, you'll also be hearing from Andrew Connors, who's the director of the Albuquerque Museum, and an excerpt in a conversation he'll be having with some other regional arts experts, all about how to collect art. How do you start a collection? What is it you should even be looking for? So that's all the sorts of things that you should look forward to hearing in the course of this program. For now, though, you don't probably want to hear much more from me. I'm going to pass things off to one of my colleagues, the Curator of Education of the Albuquerque Museum, Elizabeth Becker.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Becker, Curator of Education at the Albuquerque Museum. The museum provides a variety of programs for children, families, and adults. The Magic Bus is the cornerstone of our efforts to reach students. Your contribution supports free opportunities for students in grades K to 12, including art kits, virtual lessons, video lessons, and in-person experiences. Our virtual opportunities that we've provided over the past year have nearly doubled our impact, reaching over 20,000 students in Albuquerque and across the state. Students in elementary classrooms especially are limited in their opportunities to experience art and history. This program provides those students opportunities to explore their interests in these subjects. Students participating in the Magic Bus also have barriers to visiting museums. This program provides access to those who would otherwise not visit. The Magic Bus program, funded by community members like you, is an investment in the future, a future where students become engaged in the cultural life of their community. So please purchase an artwork in ArtsThrive, go online at the Museum Foundation's website, and donate to support these and other educational programs. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Ed Smida, and I'm an artist in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm primarily a figurative sculptor. I work with the human form, and I explore the human condition through a variety of materials such as bronze, iron, and glass. Now for this year's ArtsThrive, I created 2 brand new pieces in bronze. These are gesture studies of dancers. And I chose this subject matter because there's just such a wonderful range of gestures with dance. You can see there's these beautiful, long, extended lines. There's the power of the weight being borne through this leg into the ground. There's the twist of the spine and the rib cage. Big gestures which reference discipline and athleticism and strength. And then there's these very small, minute gestures, such as the turn of an ankle before it hits the ground, or the way the shoulder blade trails off into an extended arm. And these gestures are much more about emotion and artistry. And so this is just a full package for an artist or a sculptor to work with. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you visiting my studio. I appreciate your support for ArtsThrive. It's critically important for both the museum and the foundation, as well as for us artists. And I hope you find a piece of art that really speaks to you.
This is Stephanie with the Albuquerque Museum Foundation Board. You know, the arts aren't just personally fulfilling for me, but I see them as a wonderful opportunity to create social change. Low-income students who are highly engaged in the arts are 5 times less likely to drop out of high school, score 100 points higher on their SATs, and are twice as likely to graduate from college. Arts-rich communities have 18% less serious crime and report 14% fewer incidents of abuse and neglect. These are only a few examples of how the arts really enrich our lives, and having that joy in our lives makes everything else seem less insurmountable. Please visit albuquerquemuseumfoundation.org to consider making a donation. Anything helps.
Hello, I'm Andrew Connors, Director of the Albuquerque Museum, and today we're going to be chatting with Faye Abrams and Rhett Lynch, both of whom are art aficionados and have owned commercial spaces to sell works of art, but most importantly, they are passionate collectors themselves. So Faye, I'd love to ask you, do you remember what the first work of art was that you ever purchased?
I do. First of all, I always was surrounded by art because I grew up with art. And, well, my mom was an artist, my grandmother was an artist, my grandmother was a collector, a major collector. And so, because I had been an art major, when I finally had my own place, which was after I got married very young, we had my art on the walls. And John, my husband, went to Boston to do his internship and residency. And we went to a little gallery called Carriage House Gallery in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we bought a couple of prints. And that was the first time we spent any money on art. So that was, that was probably 1964. Yeah, it was 1964, so I was 23. Yeah.
That is just great.
Yeah.
And Rhett, do you remember your first art acquisition or how you first started collecting art?
I attribute that to my parents. When we would go on vacation, they would give us an art allowance. And we could only spend it on art, and whatever we didn't spend, we had to get back. And so that was actually one of the reasons why I became an artist. But also, you know, when we were little, it would be like, you know, it'd be like $5. So you'd find like an art card in the museum shop or something like that. And it kept getting a little bit bigger. And so it's like you would wring your hands as, you know, as a child. You'd be like, okay, we got to go to the museum. We got to go to the museum. You know, we got to go here. We got to go there to find something, because there was like, if I don't spend this money, I have to give it back. You know,
I love that.
You know?
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Texas, in Lubbock, Texas, yeah. But when we would travel, actually, we would come to New Mexico a lot, which is why I ended up here. And, you know, so we would go to, you know, we'd go all around to the galleries and the museums all over New Mexico and, you know, and all over the country. But like my parents kind of zeroed in on New Mexico, and that's how I became a collector and why I was keen on the arts. And so, yeah, so that was my kind of thing.
Do you remember the first significant, what you consider significant piece of art you bought?
Oh, goodness. Actually, I do. And it was a Patrick Nagel print. I was in high school, and I think it was $500 or something like that, and which was like a big purchase for me.
That was a big purchase.
Yeah, and I was like extremely happy about getting it, and then and he had a book that had just come out about the same time and everything, so it was in the book and everything. So I think that was the first like ouch purchase that I made, in artwork. It was one of the reasons that I became an artist was because I grew up appreciating and learning the stories of artists, and that was always really fascinating to me, like what propelled artists to create and what drove them, and that was as important to me as the work itself, and so yeah, that's how I began.
That's great. I think my first work of art also came out of allowance. And in 9th grade, I saw an exhibition of a senior, the high school student, his senior art show. And he did these wonderful drawings and then gridded them out to enlarge them into paintings. And he made this fantastic painting of a sleeping red rhinoceros. And I fell in love with the drawing. So I asked him if he might consider selling the drawing that was a pastel, and he said yes, but it's very expensive for a 9th grader. And I said, how much is it? And he said $2. And I said, could I pay you in installments? So over the span of two months, I saved my allowance and bought that rhinoceros drawing from him, which I absolutely love. And he's gone on to be a very successful artist. But I love the difference in both of your sort of collecting backgrounds. And I'd love to hear Faye as a former major collector of contemporary art, but also a gallerist. You had very specific ways of personally collecting art that may have been different from the way that you selected artists for the gallery. And Rhett, you as a painter, as an artist, a printmaker, a sculptor, you also create works of art, but you also have a gallery sales space. So I'd love to hear from both of you what you would recommend to people about how to select works of art, how to find something that speaks to them.
Well, it's not what you said that it might be different, what an artist whose work I would choose for the gallery versus what I would buy for myself. Number one, and I can't exactly explain it, but there has to be some kind of an energy that feels right between me and the work itself. But if the artist is present, that makes a difference too. It really does. So I would say just loving something and with no reason, but just feeling connected to it is really important. In fact, John and I, whenever we went to a gallery together, we had a deal. We would not say, we would say we're not going to talk to each other during the show, but at the end of the show, we're both going to tell each other what was our favorite piece, and it was almost always the same. It was really interesting. So there was other stuff as far as the gallery. I would look at the craftsmanship. That was really important, and then that response. But yeah, I mean, did that answer your question?
I think that's great. And as my former boss, Helen Lucero, always says, it's got to speak to you.
Yes.
If it doesn't speak to you, then it's not the right object for you to live with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rhett, as an artist, do you have any other ways of thinking about how people might consider making an acquisition?
I do, and this is one of my favorite topics. So it's like we all have that song that will bring us back to a moment, and it could be something from our childhood or fairly recent, but like every time we hear a particular song, we flood back with like the story or the memory or the emotional response to it. And I encourage people to have that same experience with art. There are markers of time and markers of emotion, And so it's like when people see artwork, and they're considering making a purchase, and I do this for myself, is this meaningful to me? And if so, then it's the right piece for me. And when people go into a museum or a gallery or a children's art show or whatever, you go because you are needing some kind of nourishment, some kind of something that only that experience of physical artwork can nurture and heal. And I look at it as medicine. And so I will encourage people to when they're choosing pieces for art, say, find the medicine for you. Which one makes you feel good? Which one heals you? Which one will make your morning better when you wake up, you turn the light on, and that's there to greet you. That's the piece for you. And you'll find it. And they're pieces that you'll love forever because they will always have that reoccurring emotion, that reoccurring thing, like a song. And so that's the way I go about selecting pieces for myself. And that's the way I generally like to encourage people to make their purchases and for that.
I love that. That's beautiful.
That is great.
Really nourishing and healing. I like that.
Do either of you think it's at all crucial that people consider importance or famous names when they're collecting works of art?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, if that whole idea and energy connection and nourishment and healing are there, what difference does it make? And there was a family member, a stepmother of mine, who only bought because of name, and then she had the best available. She had to get the best available, and money was no object. And when I would walk into her place and see the art, the energy wasn't there for me. It was really interesting. So, for me, no. In fact, one of the things about Mariposa Gallery that I loved is that we were very interested in bringing what we called emerging artists, maybe somebody who had never shown any other place before. And there were several people who started their careers at Mariposa. Yeah.
Rhett, do you have any thoughts about that?
I do, and it's interesting because sometimes when you select a piece of art, there is a name attached to it because they're very accomplished artists, and you're drawn to the skill of how they could tell their story visually. However, the favorite piece of art that I've ever purchased was done by a 12-year-old, and it's my favorite piece of art that I've ever owned. I bought it when I was in my early 20s, and I went to a children's art show, and there was this piece, and I think I paid $25 or $30 for it, and I love this piece of work. I study it all the time, and I think I wish I was that good. Sometimes it's just it doesn't have to always be. Sometimes I'll teach classes, and I'll say it isn't always the technical part. It's the feeling that you can convey, and that if you can put down your marks in a sincere way, that will translate better and more accurately than something very technically proficient. And there is something to be said about true skill, but also it has to have that flow of emotion with it. And and that comes with a more mature artist sometimes, but sometimes you can be 12 years old and just have it right there.
I think that's great.
That's so interesting because one of my favorite pieces of art was done. I walked into a restaurant up in Taos one time, and there was a show of a girl named Madison who at that time was age 10, and the pieces were for sale, for $10 and $15 or whatever. And I just fell in love with her work. There was so much innocence and energy, and also way to convey in such a real and they were people, mostly people. They just had such a great feeling to them. I bought one, and it still is one of my favorite pieces.
And that's important coming from you because you also had works by the major artists. Some of the most important artists in 20th century United States art you had in your collection. So I think that that's one of the great things that personal collecting can do, is express your personal taste, whether it's from Robert Motherwell or Fritz Scholder, or if it's from a young 10-year-old up in a Taos restaurant.
In fact, I was looking at it the other day and I thought, I wonder what happened to Madison. I wonder how old she is now. I mean, it was quite a while ago. It was probably 20, 25 years ago. I wonder if she's still an artist. Yeah.
Well, do you both live with works of art in your spaces?
I can't imagine not. I can't imagine not.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, my living area and studio is geared to displaying artwork. And and I rarely put up my own because I'm always inspired by other people's creativity, and what they've been doing. So I don't often, display my own work in my home. I usually, or in my studio. Like I usually have other people's work, that I enjoy, to looking at. So yeah, so I definitely, everything's decorated around displaying work in some way.
Yep. I have art in every single room in the house. For instance, I can't even imagine a bathroom without art. It's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that represents, Rhett, such a generosity of spirit that you, as an artist who could make any art that you want to live with, decide to share your space and be inspired by that of other people. And Faye, earlier you had mentioned the idea of art as inspiration. And could you both maybe comment a little bit about what art can do for you by living with it?
Well, what I was talking about earlier was what I had learned when I was getting my master's in art education, and it became very clear to me that there was some kind of a connection between kids who were actively engaged in art and their academic success. And I did enough research that I was asked to do a PhD, which I never did. But it is the kids who were actively engaged in art, and I'm not just talking about visual arts, I'm also talking about theater and music, did far better in their academic subjects than the kids who were deprived because of wherever they, whether their school had it or not. And so whatever it is, whether it's the energy that one experiences themselves while being involved in the arts or being around art, I think that it is really important for one's intellectual development. And also their social development, and also their emotional development.
Rhett, do you have thoughts about that? Living with art?
I do. And when we're born, one of the first things that people do is they will take a footprint or a handprint. And we have it in our being that when we're children, we want to put our handprint someplace, we want to put our footprint someplace. We come into the world inherently wanting to make our mark. And we, as children, we inherently just draw. Like we love to draw. We love to make marks. We like to express ourselves. And sometimes we're fortunate enough to be in a family that will support those things, those ideas, that creativity, and sometimes not. But it's there from the very beginning. And it's something that when we find a way to nurture that in us, even if we've lost it and we can get back to it, we are holistically better. And we are a better community when we encourage that in each other. And so it is when we can inspire each other to appreciate creation, to be creative ourselves. That's the nature of our being, is to be creative. We're all perpetually changing. We're all perpetually growing in some way. It's like when something is still and not moving, we call it dead. When it is changing and moving, it's alive. So to embrace change, to embrace creativity, and to take things and to do something with them is like the elixir of life to me, you know, and so it's like I think that's where a great deal of people, you know, that are creative find that, you know, in them, and maybe not in that precise way, but that's kind of the nucleus of the story, is that it is our human nature to be in the arts. It is our human nature to express ourselves and to hear other people's story of their expression. And it strengthens us in our soul. It strengthens the entire community when we foster that and to live it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, really beautiful.
That's great. Would either of you have recommendations for people on how to view an exhibition such as ArtsThrive that has such diversity represented in the exhibition? And how do they make sense of all of these different aesthetics and the work of all of these different artists?
I think that I would encourage people to think, to be aware of the energy that they feel. You know, it's like, you know, folks, like, this is, maybe it's so simple as, do I feel good when I look at this? Or the other thing is there anything here that has me be curious? And so just ask themselves a couple of questions, not, you know, like what are, will there be something that I feel so connected with that I would like to have it? Yeah.
That's a wonderful answer. I like that.
I like your answers too.
We'll be our own fan club, each other's fan club, yeah. I feel like it's really important in nature, and especially in the way that the world is right now, to remember that diversity is really healthy. And that is when you have in the natural world, that is when you have a really healthy ecosystem. And in the human realm, that's when you have a really healthy community. So when you go into an exhibition like ArtsThrive, and there is this vast array of one extreme to the other of ideas and forms of expression, it's exciting to me. I may not understand all of it, but I am curious. And some of it that will harmonize with me at first glance. Others, I might not get it at all. And sometimes those are the ones I'm the most curious about because I don't understand it. And when I learn a little bit about it, those can become my favorites. And so it's exciting to me, something like ArtsThrive, when there are so many different kinds of forms of expression in one place. It's a great opportunity to really expand, you know, your ideas of what creativity is, and to you know, go home with a better story inside of you.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I was thinking about when John and I used to go to galleries and we wouldn't say anything, but the last time I came to an ArtsThrive was 2 years ago with a friend of mine. We decided to play that game, but we did it by sections because it's so big. Like, you know, we'll do this wall, and then we'll check in and see which was our favorite.
So,
and yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's.
So I was going to say, I'm really curious what your answer to that question is.
Well, what I really am inspired by both of your comments, because I think that so many people don't have the confidence of their own feelings. And art, first and foremost, affects people through emotions, whether it's a great piece of classical music, whether it's a great play, a great poem, a novel, or a painting or sculpture or work of glass, piece of jewelry, that it has to transfix you first, and then hopefully have the potential to transform you. And you touched on that a little bit, that art can take you places that you've never been before. and can challenge you. And I am not surprised that as a visual artist yourself, you're willing to be challenged and you're willing to confront something that might at first not be appealing to you and let that object work on you. Let the artist do their magic and teach you something that you hadn't thought before, because that's the power, I think of art.
Love that. Work their magic and teach you something that you hadn't even considered before.
Well, I love this exhibition because of the range
Yes.
of aesthetics that are there. And we talked earlier about famous artists versus artists that are new and emerging artists, and this exhibition has both.
It has both, and then it has pretty much every medium that you can think of. You know, it's so diverse, and I that's what I love about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun almost to hide artists' names. You know, I've always wondered. And then, I mean, if somebody is brand new and never having ever bought before, but that this is their first opportunity, there are all kinds of people that they can talk to. You know, and so I think that would be fun to have a group of people who are willing to come in, like, do you have a question about art? You know, like, not like a docent, but just somebody that they could talk about art with and talk about why buy art. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think you touched on something because, like, you kind of alluded to, like, there is a vulnerability when you look at artwork, when you want to look at something and feel like what you're attracted to is okay. You know, and so it's an interesting, when you're creating artwork, there's a vulnerability. And so you have a tendency to have this kind of exposed place when you, especially if you're collecting something for the first time. You know, am I making a good purchase? Is this like an okay art? You know, but when I get it home, will my family feel about this? You know, like, and so it can be an act of courage to buy a piece of artwork, you know, and so it's nice, like you said, to have someone there, to have someone to visit with and consult with and work through those things to where you can get that out of the way, and you can really actually feel what you feel about the artwork. And so it's nice to have someone to facilitate that.
Fun. Ask a collector.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, it's true, yes.
Ask a collector or ask an artist. Yeah.
Right.
That would be great.
I think one of the things that you have on the website are statements by the artist. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So each of the artists does have a statement on the website about their work.
And so that's another way to find out more about why something is created, or you know what has brought them to create the particular pieces that they did, and yeah. But I like the idea. It's a little booth. Ask a collector.
Exactly. Lucy, the doctor is in. The psychiatrist is in.
Because it's such a wide variety, it embraces the whole community. Like, the entire community is represented. And so there is something for everyone. There is something for everyone there to relate to, you know, because it does have the number of artists and the number of mediums and everything. There's something that anyone can find that feels like home to them visually, you know. So that's a real strong exhibition when you can put something like that on.
And the other thing is too is that this is not a donation that the artists make. This is something that the artists will get a larger commission than they would from most galleries, and at the same time, the museum is supported.
I think that's so important, and the Albuquerque Museum Foundation has made that commitment to artists from the very beginning, that artists are not expected to donate, but artists are actually paid for their work through individuals' purchases through ArtsThrive.
Right. And as I said, I know that it's more than the artist commission from ArtsThrive is more than most galleries will give for a commission.
That's great. Thank you for joining us today as we've heard from Rhett Lynch, who is an artist of Dene heritage and a member of the Albuquerque Museum Foundation Board of Trustees. Thank you so much for your service there. And Faye Abrams, who founded Mariposa Gallery here in Albuquerque, one of the most dynamic spaces, and has been a major collector of art all through her life. You've both enhanced my understanding of art, and I look forward to seeing you in the gallery here for the ArtsThrive exhibition hosted by the Albuquerque Museum Foundation.
Hi, I'm Josie Lopez, Curator of Art at the Albuquerque Museum. Welcome to another year of ArtsThrive. It's important events like this that the Albuquerque Museum Foundation organizes that support our exhibitions, our programs, and our collections. In this past year, for example, we were able to bring world-class exhibitions such as Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, and Mexican Modernism, as well as 30 Americans and Eye to Eye portraits from the National Portrait Gallery. So we are very lucky to have the opportunity to collaborate with the Foundation, and we welcome you to another year of great events and great programs here at the museum. Please go to albuquerquemuseumfoundation.org to learn how you can continue to support both our foundation and our museum. And also, please enjoy this year's ArtsThrive with the incredible artists that will be on view, both in the gallery and online.
Throughout history, people have imagined the melding of human and animal attributes with magical results. My Humanimal series features a whimsical approach to these combinations. Hi, I'm Christine Poole, a sculptor from Santa Fe working in fired clay and bronze. I'm delighted to be part of the 2021 ArtsThrive exhibition. For this year's show, I have created 2 ceramic works. Tiger Guy has a more solitary feeling. Finished in classic sculptural black, he is designed to rest upon his rocky overlook or perch on a shelf watching you go about your day. The second is inspired by New Mexican fauna, the hare and the fox. The terracotta tones of the finish are inspired by the warm colors of our beautiful desert Southwest. These 2 beauties are designed to work together as a pair and can be positioned in many ways to create different feelings and narratives. I hope you find something at ArtsThrive 2021 that delights you. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is Elaine Roy, supporter of the Albuquerque Museum and ArtsThrive, formerly Miniatures and More, which has been going on for 31 years. And I've been attending for 16 years, and it was a great way for me to start collecting art, getting to know artists, and getting to be part of the Albuquerque Museum community. This fundraiser is something I looked forward to every year. It's a win-win for both the museum and all the artists that participate. 120 plus artists showing an extensive array of variety of artwork, all price points. It's so exciting. And we could use your help. Please come bid, be part of ArtsThrive, and help both the artist and Albuquerque Museum continue to grow. And please go to albuquerquemuseumfoundation.org and please place your bids, because this is going to be very exciting and we need everybody's support. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm David Welch. Welcome to my studio, and thank you for your interest in ArtsThrive. Let's take a look around. I use color and light to convey and amplify the life force, the energy that one feels in the landscape, that one feels in nature. This is a painting of the Yellow Cliffs, not far from Abiquiu. It will be in the collector's dinner at ArtsThrive. My paint box. How can you not love color? I love all these colors. I'm also working on a series of Sandia Mountain landscapes at different times of day, different seasons of the year. This one is near dusk. This in the morning. This is just a beginning. It's the underpainting. I underpaint with bright colors and then layer up successive layers of color to create complexity and interest. These final works are also from the Abiquiu series. They will be in ArtsThrive. I hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our program. I'm Perry Bendixson, President of the Board of Directors of the Albuquerque Museum Foundation. We appreciate your participation in our Ungala this year, and we thank you for the time you have spent learning more about the Foundation and the Albuquerque Museum, which I'm sure you will agree is one of the great cultural gems, not just of our community, but of the entire Southwest. As you've heard through the program, your purchases at ArtsThrive will benefit not just the participating artists, but will also allow the Foundation to fund the museum's programs, exhibitions, and acquisitions. If you haven't done so already, please go to albuquerquemuseum.org and register for the sale. There's no obligation and no cost to registration, but I'm sure you'll find something in our catalog that speaks to you and is within your price range. The exhibition will be available online through December 5th, and you can also visit the museum and see the pieces in person. Happy bidding, good luck, and have a great evening.